When you're young, you have your friends. But when you get older, those friends often move away. Some may stay by your side, while some will remain stagnant, stuck in the glory of the old days. The point is to never be satisfied. Hazuki! This girl is dope, yo. You ever remember those cool girls in the corner of the classroom just drawing awesome artwork and all the jocks had crushes on her because she wore black lipstick and a hoodie? So they assumed she was goth, but she's actually into anime J-rock. Hazuki likes to fight. A good old violence party and keep to herself, often saying as little as possible and very, very rarely giving any insight into her personal emotions. She's a shy girl. Not even Oedo Tai knew anything about her. Hazuki seems like the type where too much social attention is incredibly overwhelming. As such, I was always curious about her nature and have wanted to make a video on her for months now, but I couldn't quite grasp the emotional core of her character, as just doing a career retrospective is not interesting and honestly boring for me to do. Plenty of Joshi content creators are far better at that than I am. I am looking at you, Xavester. You get your PC running. As a storyteller, I want to approach this with a different lens, but I need something to grasp so I can mold and stretch and find the emotional core. Hazuki is the wild heart. But why is it wild? Where does that heart lie? And what keeps it beating? Because Hazuki used to be part of a villain group. But when she returned to Stardom, she joined the hero group. So, Hazuki, what are you doing?
Who's ready for story time?
Hazuki was inspired by Kelly and John Cena and started training for pro wrestling after junior high school and accepted into Stardom Dojo at age 16. That was quite a sentence to read. Her debut opponent was her future FWC partner, Koguma. We'll get back to that. Hazuki's history in Stardom is of belonging to many factions, from Hanseigun to Queen's Quest, and then was drafted into Kagetsu's Oedo Tai, where this story begins. Hazuki used to spell her name like this, to pair with Azumi, but then Kagetsu took her under her wing, and Hazuki went back to Hazuki and started to mature under the group by doing a dive off the top where she says meow on the girl's face. No, but seriously, Oedo Tai is where Hazuki's coming-of-age story began. Kagetsu's Oedo Tai was much different than today's very evil and very cute Oedo Tai, the only remaining members being Saki Kashima and the current leader Natsuko Tora. Before Natsuko was Kagetsu, and I incorrectly labeled Kagetsu's unit as a more villainous unit, but the more appropriate word would be rebellious. Today's Oedo Tai is far more evil, actually. This is them. This is the evil group. Plus, today's Oedo Tai never had a full dance routine in their opening entrance, and I mean full routine. They always seemed far less scripted and out to have fun in whatever way possible, be it violence or dance battles and Hazuki corpsing. But Oedo Tai were firmly a family. No unit in Stardom has a tighter bond than Oedo Tai. This is a group that had to fight to stay alive, as the late Hana Kimura had to challenge Mayu Iwatani for the wonder of Stardom, where the stipulation was, if Hana won, Mayu had to join Oedo Tai. But if Mayu won, Oedo Tai would disband. But Kagetsu came in and took charge of the unit, building Oedo Tai into a household brand name for Stardom, and a legacy one at this point. Oedo Tai fought to remain in existence and only ever experienced one betrayal from Hana Kimura herself. Oedo Tai are a tight-knit gang of outsiders who are free to be who they want, misfit to the core, best represented perhaps through Sumire Natsu, a vain dominatrix woman with more bark than bite and always willing to be ridiculous for the sake of the meme. Someone who always knew her limitations and took advantage of her strengths. So when Hazuki was drafted into Oedo Tai, she was allowed to follow her heart, although she naturally rejected being a part of the unit. Gone from her former unit, now watching over drunk white women. But remember, Stardom is an anime, and in the art of combat, Hazuki accepted Hanakamura after eliminating her from the Cinderella. With a lollipop, Hazuki had fully accepted her new family, and the next night, Hazuki debuts fully with Oedo Tai and the dancing choreography. While it seemed Kagetsu picked Hazuki to spite Io Shirai's Queen Quest unit, whom she stole from and already was feuding with, Kagetsu would mentor Hazuki and even pick her first in the 2019 Stardom draft. She saw something in Hazuki, and through her time in Oedo Tai, Hazuki changed. She grew more confident and developed more of the attitude we come to love about Hazuki. She would challenge for the red belt, and Kagetsu and Hazuki would bond further through combat. Here, Hazuki learned the lessons of Kagetsu because Oedo Tai had a philosophy of half-assing everything, an exploration in the terrible, very Portsmouth Sifonia. If you're not aware, Portsmouth Sifonia was regarded as the worst orchestra in the world because they would invite anyone to play and rehearse with them, and it's so comedic and pure, despite how terrible they're playing. That was Oedo Tai. But here, during the ultimate battle for the red belt in the ring of Stardom, where lion spirit reigns, Kagetsu tells Hazuki to never remain satisfied, for you cannot rise to the top if you do. Hazuki had the high-speed belt. She had a fire burning inside and wants to be better. And Kagetsu recognized her change and worked to develop her for the future of the unit. Developing the future of Oedo Tai, Natsuko Tora was brought in, and Hazuki teamed with her during the Goddess League. Kagetsu was grooming the new leaders of Oedo Tai, but specifically, Kagetsu was grooming Hazuki to take over. But in November of 2019, Hazuki just casually announced that she was retiring at the final show of the year. And that's it. She wasn't satisfied with Stardom. Hazuki lost to the debuting Julia and then faced her master Kagetsu one last time in an epic war that had Kagetsu spraying Hazuki with the blue mist, which is the sleeping mist, so Hazuki went to sleep. Then Kagetsu hits Hazuki with a Death Valley driver, but she powers up and locks in the Hazuki Stroke Cradle, but Kagetsu kicks out, and a massive kick to the head, followed by a final Death Valley driver for the win. Hazuki couldn't beat her master. In her final match, she chose Natsuko Tora, her Goddess of Stardom tag partner, to face. She lost the match and had her retirement, and it was, as she said, the best and worst retirement. Portsmouth Sifonia. In the most visible emotion I've seen from her, Hazuki merely thanked Oedo Tai and those that supported them and her, spoke of her hatred of Stardom, then bounced. Hazuki was never one for many words. If Tam Nakano had the lore of Dark Souls wrapped in her, Hazuki is the exact opposite. Her motivations, her ambitions, any insecurities or emotional tangles, she gives nothing out, instead choosing the Oedo Tai way of just living in the present. So she was gone. Kagetsu ended up retiring. Sumire Natsu dealt with an injury and quietly left. A pandemic happened, and Oedo Tai went a different direction. But her retirement didn't last long. In 2021, Mayu just finished the match and... Oh, hi Hazuki! Much like her casual retirement announcement, her return was just as random and casual. She told Mayu she was disgusted with all the non-homegrown talent taking over, which implies Julia if we're being honest here, and Mayu scolded her for criticizing Stardom and then just crawling back because she changed her mind. But Hazuki seems to have found the fire in her again and wants to light a fuse in Stardom and elevate it further. But why? She may have been satisfied with being away from Stardom, but being satisfied means complacency. And to change the status quo of Stardom and elevate it further, Hazuki must not be satisfied with her lot in life. And where did she learn this lesson again? And that was good enough for Mayu. Hazuki will return against Koguma, the opponent she debuted against, and she will pay homage to Kagetsu with her robe, the moon. Both Kagetsu and Hazuki share the same kanji of moon. Hazuki and Koguma have their battle, and Hazuki wins in the end, but despite how odd and weird and obsessed with bears Koguma is, she can relate to Hazuki because she retired 6 years prior. She only recently returned too, and as usual, Stardom is an anime, and their battle caused them to bond in such a way that Hazuki figured it fate that she and Koguma form a team for the upcoming Goddess Tag League. With tears falling down her face, Koguma accepts. And new best friends formed in Stardom. This fighting badass introvert and the weird outgoing bear girl. FWC won the Goddess of Stardom Tag League of 2021 and challenged Shuri and Julia for the Goddess belts, with Hazuki defeating Julia and capturing the tag belts. Hazuki, now in Mayu Iwatani's stars, has gone the opposite way of Oedo Tai, a more colorful babyface unit, and closing out the show with the We Are Stars bit. And Oedo Tai was being co-led by Starlight Kid while Natsuko Tora dealt with an injury. But not once did it seem like Hazuki ever considered running Oedo Tai. So why? Simple. Koguma. Think of those movies where someone's part of a gang and then they get arrested and go to jail, and then they return to society and learn that the old gang is gone and are now free to do what they like. And they meet a kind soul who directs their life into a more wholesome way. But what's the twist in all those stories? The past has to return. And when faced with the returning Natsuko Tora, the one who was supposed to retire her former tag team partner, the one who carried Oedo Tai into the new direction without Hazuki, she didn't know what to do. Something about this interaction led Natsuko Tora to revisit the past, and often in these type of stories, there must be a victim, someone close to Hazuki. Somewhere is a bar, and in this bar, a frequent guest would, or maybe wouldn't, surprise you. One Rossi Ogawa, drowning his sorrows from having to deal with 20-year-olds because he's old, tired, and works with children. And Natsuko Tora and Saki Kashima have caught Rossi, and Kashima judging the joint. And what the hell is Rossi drinking? This man in his class, I swear. And the bartender comes out, and it's Sumire Natsu. And hold up, Rossi, I have questions. And immediately Kashima in gangsta mode, and Natsuko Tora attacks her old running mate and beats her up and rips apart her poster. Natsuko sees the bar and sees Natsu living in the past. This disgusts her, and Kashima like... So at the showcase, Natsuko Tora and Saki Kashima faced Sumire Natsu, but she needed a partner. But who was left to pair with her? Hazuki. Perhaps the run-in with Natsuko led to the past coming back into Hazuki's mind. So she joined Natsu Sumire for an Oedo Tai versus Oedo Tai match. And Natsuko brutalizes the former member, and Kashima like, bringing weapons in like Kashima with the bat to Hazuki, or Natsuko with the lead pipe, and the two former Oedo Tai members working well against the new Oedo Tai, and Natsu having enough of their shit and delivering violent pelvic thrusts to both Natsuko and Kashima. Saki all like. There are so many jokes I can make, so many. But in the end, Oedo Tai too strong for Natsu as they finish her off for the oh no! Hazuki with the save! She still has your back, Natsu! All of Oedo Tai gets involved and attacks Hazuki. So Hazuki's new gang, Stars, intervenes and things break out of control, forcing the ref to throw the match. Not before Natsuko Tora kills Sumire with a bottle, but Hazuki with the save! Natsuko had enough. She says Natsu has been living in her memories, but she's moved on with the new Oedo Tai, leaving just Natsu, who berates Natsuko for wanting to be in her group of little bitches. And Hazuki praises Natsu and wants to team with her again. But Natsu responds with... Natsu is done with her time in Oedo Tai. That was the past. Leave it. She's moved on, but it seems like everyone else wants to keep her in the past. Natsuko Tora just accused her of the same, and it breaks her heart as Natsu delivers a powerful performance where she decrees that she's tired of people recognizing her as Oedo Tai's Natsu or Stardom's Natsu. She's tired of being associated with her brand. She is her own person, and she has always been her own person. And even though she doesn't hate Hazuki, quite the opposite based on her reaction, she can't team with her again. She's moving on in life. Sumire Natsu is free. Leaving Hazuki to process. What did she learn? Why is her heart wild? Because she lives in the present, but with no desire to stay in the present either. Where does her heart lie? In making pro wrestling better, fun. And what keeps it beating? She returns to her new best friend Koguma as FWC and continues to fight for a better Stardom, to go from a once rebellious group of misfits doing things half-assed, giving the best and the worst, to hating the very company she works for, to rejoining and not going back into her past, but rather move forward thanks to a kind bear girl and join the unit that represents Stardom's values the most. Stars. It's quite the journey, but because it's Hazuki, it's also a quiet journey. One of introspection even. But when you see her with Koguma, you see it in her. It's wholesome. And perhaps Hazuki learned yet another example in the lessons of Kagetsu, to not live in the past, not live in memories, never be satisfied, and to move on from the present moment. And that's it.